Have you ever stared at your phone after a message, heart pounding, trying to read between the lines of every word he sent? Have you replayed a smile, a touch, a moment, over and over, trying to decide if it meant something real or if you were just hoping too hard? If you have, then you know that feeling. The one where your mind races with possibilities, but your heart feels like it's stuck in limbo. You're not imagining things, you're not being dramatic. You're simply searching for the truth in a situation that refuses to be clear. There's something deeply painful about not knowing where you stand. It's not just about whether he likes you, it's about whether you matter to him the way he's starting to matter to you. And when the signals are mixed, when kindness blurs with interest, it's easy to get lost in the fog of uncertainty. You start questioning yourself. Maybe I'm reading too much into this. Maybe I should just give him the benefit of the doubt. But here's the thing. You don't deserve to live in confusion. You deserve clarity. You deserve someone who sees you, chooses you, and shows up for you without making you beg for proof. The problem is, when emotions are involved, our minds play tricks on us. We see what we want to see. We hear what we want to hear. And sometimes we mistake kindness for affection simply because we wish it was more. It's not weakness. It's human nature. Our brains are wired to seek connection, to find meaning in gestures, even when they don't carry the weight we hope they do. That's why it's so easy to fall into the trap of wondering, is this real or am I just being hopeful? But what if you could stop guessing? What if you could look at his actions, not just his words, and finally understand where you truly stand? That's exactly what this video offers you. Not more confusion, not more overthinking, but real, actionable insight that cuts through the noise and helps you see the truth. Because deep down, you already know the answer. You're just afraid to face it, or maybe you've been told to wait longer. Give more chances. Ignore the red flags. Let's be honest. You're tired of waiting for him to make up his mind while you lose pieces of yours. You're tired of analyzing every text like it's a secret code. You're tired of pretending it doesn't hurt when he pulls away again. And maybe, just maybe, you're ready to stop chasing energy that isn't fully there. This video isn't here to tell you what you want to hear. It's here to give you the tools to uncover what you need to know. Because you deserve better than ambiguity. You deserve better than maybe. You deserve someone who looks at you like you're worth every effort, every conversation, every risk. And if that's not what you're getting right now, you need to know that with absolute certainty. Not just for peace of mind, but for your future happiness. So if you're ready to stop second guessing and start seeing clearly, keep watching. What you're about to learn will change everything. Not just about him, but about how you show up for yourself, how you protect your heart, and how you begin to demand the kind of love that matches your strength, your value, and your worth. Because this isn't just about figuring out his feelings. It's about rediscovering yours and choosing yourself first. You've already taken the hardest step, choosing to look beyond the surface, to stop pretending that kindness alone is enough. That decision alone speaks volumes about your strength. It means you're not just searching for an answer anymore. You're ready to face it. And that's where real transformation begins. Because clarity isn't just about him, it's about you, about how much you're willing to accept, how deeply you're willing to feel, and how fiercely you're willing to protect your peace. Let's talk about what happens when we stay in the confusion zone too long, when we let mixed signals become our normal. At first, it feels like hope, like patience, like giving love a chance to grow. But over time, something shifts. That hope starts to wear thin. The waiting becomes exhausting. And the more you try to decode his behavior, the smaller you start to feel. You begin doubting yourself, wondering if you're asking too much. If maybe you're the one making this harder than it has to be. But here's the truth. Wanting to know where you stand is not too much to ask. Wanting to feel seen, valued, and pursued, that's not selfish, that's human. The problem is, when emotions are tangled with uncertainty, our brain tries to protect us by filling in the blanks. It takes every smile, every kind word, every moment of attention, and turns it into proof that he might actually feel the same. But here's the psychological reality. When someone truly likes you, they don't leave you guessing. They don't keep you on the edge of hope and heartbreak. They show up, not perfectly, but consistently, not with empty gestures, but with intention, because real feelings don't hide behind politeness or convenience. Think about this. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to make time for the people who truly matter to you? How when you care deeply, you find ways to show it even when life gets messy? That's not just effort. That's emotional priority. And if you're constantly reaching out while he remains emotionally distant, then you're not seeing indifference. You're witnessing a choice, a silent one that says he's comfortable having you in his life, but not committed to building anything real with you. That hurts to hear. And it should, because the truth always stings before it sets you free. But pain is not the enemy. Confusion is, settling is, pretending is. And if you keep telling yourself that kindness equals interest, you're giving yourself permission to stay in a space that doesn't honor your full worth. You deserve someone who doesn't just treat you well, but who fights for you, who shows you love through action, not just words, who makes you feel safe, seen, and certain. Here's what most people won't tell you. Staying in a situation where you're constantly questioning his intentions does more than just hurt your heart. It erodes your confidence. It weakens your boundaries. It teaches you to tolerate less than you deserve because you've convinced yourself that maybe, just maybe, it will get better. But real love doesn't require constant reassurance. It doesn't live in guesswork. It thrives in honesty, communication, and mutual investment. So why do we keep trying to turn nice into love? Because we want to believe that someone sees us, that we matter, that we're not alone in how we feel. And that longing is powerful. It can override logic, cloud judgment, and keep us trapped in cycles of hope and disappointment. But here's the secret no one tells you. The strongest thing you can do for yourself is walk away from the energy that isn't fully there. Not with anger, not with bitterness, but with self-respect. Because when you choose yourself, even when it hurts, you send a message to your soul. You say, I am worth knowing. I am worth showing up for. I am worth loving without question. And once you start living by that truth, nothing else will ever feel good enough except the real thing. No more settling, no more overthinking, no more waiting for someone to decide if you're worth the effort. And that's exactly what this journey is about. Not just understanding his behavior, but reclaiming yours, understanding what you deserve, recognizing the difference between being liked and being loved, between being treated kindly and being cherished, because those two things are not the same. And once you see that clearly, you'll never again settle for anything less than the kind of love that lifts you higher instead of keeping you locked in doubt. So if you're ready to stop second-guessing and start standing in your own power, keep listening, because what comes next will help you recognize the signs you've been missing and give you the courage to act on them. This isn't just about figuring out his feelings anymore. It's about protecting yours. And that's where true strength begins. You've already begun to see the truth, that wanting certainty is not weakness but strength, that choosing yourself is not rejection but self-respect. And now comes the part where you learn how to recognize the signs that most people miss. Not just the obvious ones, the grand gestures or dramatic declarations, but the quiet, consistent behaviors that reveal what someone truly feels. Because if there's one thing you deserve, it's a love that doesn't leave you guessing. Let's start with the first undeniable sign, boundaries. Real affection doesn't hide behind vague lines or inconsistent energy. It shows up with clarity. If he truly likes you, he won't keep you in a gray area while he figures out what he wants. He'll make space for you, not just when it's convenient, not just when he needs attention or distraction, but consistently. You won't have to chase him for time, for communication, for effort. He'll give it freely because your presence matters to him. Because when someone values you, they don't let you wonder if you matter. Now ask yourself this. Has he ever set clear boundaries between himself and others when it comes to you? Has he ever made it known through words or actions that you are different? Or does he treat you like anyone else, never stepping out of the friend zone unless it suits his mood? The truth is, people act based on priority. And if you're not a priority, no amount of kindness will change that reality. Then there's the second sign, initiative. Love doesn't wait for permission to show up. It finds ways to reach out, to connect, to build something real. Think about how often he reaches out first, how often he creates moments for connection instead of waiting for them to happen. When someone truly cares, they don't need prompting. They don't disappear for days and expect you to believe it's just busyness. They check in. They follow through. They remember what you said mattered to you. And they prove through action that you're not just another person in their life. You're someone they want to keep close intentionally. The third sign is deeper still. It's emotional availability, not just talking, but connecting. Not just sharing surface-level updates, but opening up in ways that show trust, vulnerability, investment. Does he ask about your dreams, your fears, your heart? Does he remember what you shared last week and bring it up again? Emotional intimacy isn't built on frequency alone. It's built on depth. And if he keeps conversations light while avoiding anything meaningful, that's not shyness, that's distance disguised as closeness. Here's what many don't realize. Emotional unavailability often wears the mask of kindness. He can be warm, attentive, even affectionate. But if he never lets you past a certain point, if he avoids deep conversations, refuses to label things, or deflects when you try to talk about the future, then he's not just being shy, he's protecting his own freedom while letting you hope for more. And that's not fair to you. Fourth comes consistency. Real feelings don't vanish without explanation. They don't fluctuate based on convenience. If he likes you, he won't go from full engagement to silence overnight without reason. He won't ghost you emotionally while still expecting you to stay invested. Consistency is the foundation of trust. And without trust, there can be no real connection, only confusion and disappointment. Finally, consider this. Does he stand by you when things get difficult? Does he support you, defend you, uplift you, even when it's not easy? Because true care isn't just present in good times. It shows up in the moments when you need it most. If he only appears when everything is perfect, then he's not showing love. He's seeking comfort. And that's not the same thing. By now, you may already feel the shift inside you. The realization that you've been giving too much weight to kind words while ignoring the lack of meaningful action. That you've been trying to interpret signals when what you really needed was proof, and that's okay. Because healing begins with awareness, growth starts with honesty, and courage is born from recognizing that you deserve better than nice. So take a deep breath, let this truth settle in. You were never meant to fight for a place in someone's life. You were meant to walk beside someone who chooses you every single day, someone who sees your worth, matches your energy, and makes you feel safe in their love. And until that person arrives, you have the right, no, the responsibility to protect your heart, to stop accepting less than you deserve, to stop mistaking politeness for passion. Because you are not here to settle, you are here to be chosen, fully, deeply, without question. And once you start living by that truth, nothing will ever feel good enough except real love. And that's exactly what you're going to find. When you stop looking for signals and start demanding proof, you already know what real love looks like now. You've seen the signs. You've felt the shift inside, the growing awareness that kindness alone is not enough, that effort matters more than words, and that someone who truly wants you won't keep you waiting in uncertainty. But knowing isn't always the hardest part. The real challenge comes when you have to decide what to do with that truth. Because once you see things clearly, you can no longer pretend ignorance. Once you understand what you deserve, settling feels less like patience and more like self-betrayal. So let's talk about the moment that changes everything. The moment you stop analyzing his behavior and start protecting your own peace. That moment when you realize that your emotional well-being is not something to gamble with. That your heart deserves better than guesswork and mixed signals. And that no amount of kind words or occasional attention should make you forget how it feels when he disappears, ignores, or emotionally withdraws. Because here's the thing, people don't just randomly drift in and out of your life unless they're not fully invested. If he only shows up when it suits him, then he's not building a connection, he's testing your limits. He's seeing how much space he can take without giving anything real in return. And if you keep letting him, you're not proving your loyalty, you're proving how little you expect from love. Let that sink in for a moment, how little you expect from love. Because somewhere along the way, maybe you started believing that this was as good as it gets, that being treated nicely was the same as being loved deeply, that as long as he didn't hurt you, you had no right to ask for more. But that belief, it's not protecting you, it's holding you back. Because real love doesn't just avoid pain, it creates joy. It doesn't just stay polite, it stays present. It doesn't just show up sometimes, it shows up consistently. And if you've been staying in a situation where you have to convince yourself that at least he's nice, then you're already aware of what's missing. You feel it in the silence between texts, in the absence of deep conversations, in the way he never quite crosses the line into full commitment. You feel it every time you catch yourself wondering, why doesn't he just tell me where we stand? As if honesty were too much to ask. But you deserve honesty. You deserve clarity. You deserve someone who doesn't make you question their intentions because their actions speak louder than any doubt. And until you start demanding that for yourself, you'll keep attracting people who offer just enough to keep you hoping, but never enough to make you feel secure. That's not just a relationship problem. That's a self-worth issue. And facing that truth might be uncomfortable, but discomfort is the price of growth. Because once you recognize that you've been accepting less than you deserve, you have two choices: continue making excuses for his behavior, or finally choose yourself. Choosing yourself doesn't mean cutting everyone off. It doesn't mean becoming cold or unfeeling. It means setting boundaries that protect your energy. It means walking away from situations where you are not fully valued. It means refusing to twist yourself into someone else's version of acceptable just to stay in their orbit. And yes, it hurts. Walking away from even the possibility of love is painful. But staying in a space where you're not truly wanted hurts more. Staying teaches your heart to tolerate disrespect disguised as affection. It trains you to ignore red flags because you've convinced yourself that maybe, just maybe, they don't matter. But they do. They always have. So here's your challenge. Not just to watch this video and feel inspired for a few hours, but to act on what you now know. To look at your current situation and ask yourself one simple but powerful question. Am I staying because this feels right, or because I'm afraid of being alone? If the answer leans toward fear, then you already know what needs to change. If your heart whispers that you're clinging to crumbs instead of demanding a full meal, then you already know what courage looks like. It looks like stepping away. It looks like choosing peace over confusion. It looks like loving yourself enough to wait for someone who loves you back. Not just sometimes, but always. Because you were never meant to beg for proof of affection. You were meant to receive it freely. You were never meant to decode hidden messages. You were meant to be spoken to clearly. And you were never meant to settle for someone who makes you feel uncertain about your place in their life. So if you've been waiting for permission to walk away, consider this your sign. If you've been looking for strength, know that it's already within you. And if you've been searching for the courage to demand better, understand that every word you've heard so far has been preparing you for that very moment. Real love does not leave you guessing. Real love does not hide behind politeness. Real love chooses you, fully, fiercely, and without hesitation. And until that love arrives, you owe it to yourself to remain free. Free from confusion, free from half-hearted gestures, free from the exhausting cycle of hope and disappointment. Because you are worth more than maybe. You are worth certainty. You are worth someone who sees your light and refuses to let it dim. So go ahead. Take that step. Close the door on what doesn't serve you. Walk away from what doesn't honor you. And open your heart to the kind of love that matches your strength, your depth, and your unwavering worth. Because that love is waiting. Not somewhere far off. Not in some distant future. But just beyond the choice you're about to make.